In this video I'm getting back onto this NV850 Panasonic. I'm going to take the covers off. It's the old idler assembly I pulled out of it. I've got a belt kit for it, VCR. It should be the right one for it. It's got a bit of a longer belt loading than the 870. Two idlers, which I think you only use one of. Two other belts and that's it. So it should be a fairly straightforward machine to do, in theory. So I'm going to get the front panel off as well. And might as well get this metal cover out of the way. There's another one somewhere, isn't there? Another two actually. Should be able to just lift that out. And that's right, these are the machines with this extra bit on top. Supposedly a bit of an afterthought where they added an extra rotary transformer to the existing heads, or existing lower drum I guess, so we can get our hi-fi heads off the top there. Oh, it's pretty tight, this one. I don't think there's any knobs on this thing either. Not that have to come off. Some hi-fi machines, I think it was mainly the sharps and that had the knobs that popped off. No connectors on the front, which is good. And it doesn't matter which side of the machine we start from really, but usually you've got to get these boards out of the way a bit. I think these two have got the hinges at the back. Oh, that's right, we've got to take the front off, haven't we? Front board has to drop as well. But luckily all red screws in these things, which is a great idea. And yeah, one metal one that goes into the metalwork there. The rest of them should be the same. Couple there, this should come loose, just got to unclip it a bit. And yeah, clips. They can be a bit of a pain. Show the displays free, there's a bit of wiring coming up, that's got to come out of the thing there. And yeah, great big board to deal with. This is where I always used to use a dummy tape because it was always lying around, and hold it up like that. Probably not going to make for a very good video though. Let's see if we can get that to dangle out of the way. But very straightforward, these machines. We're not going to take the caps and bracket off. Probably don't really need to take it off, you can just undo it a bit. Yeah, I forgot how clean this machine was. Nice to work on something that isn't covered in grease. The belts haven't even yellowed the pulleys much. It's obviously been in good conditions, this one. Might as well pull that other one off. Do that loading motor. And that one pulley's still a bit dirty. Squish that down a bit. Get right down in the pulley. That's better. Another bit of black on there going around with it's just a marker pen or something. Not sure what that is. Something out of the factory. But yeah, man, is this thing clean. I think I checked the grease already. These belts are a bit thinner than the old ones, or maybe they certainly look thicker than you'd normally find. But maybe the originals were like that. Better not sit on there because a bit of grease on things. Yeah, these are a bit thinner belts than the originals. That shouldn't worry anything. That one's not much different. And we can start screwing it all back together. Yeah, very rare to see a machine so clean as this. There's no hairs in it, no dust in it. It's almost like new under there, like you'd expect a brand new machine to look like when it's still under warranty. So it's one of the cleanest VCRs I think I've ever seen in my life. So I don't have to spend a lot of its life in a box or a cupboard or something, but it doesn't look like your average lounge room one, that's for sure. And these are really tight in this machine. I'm just going to try and tilt the board inwards a bit, that's it. Now where's that wiring? That had to clip into something. Yeah, that just goes through a little channel thing. Now what's in the way? That's it. Clip that board back in. I might just screw that one in at least. Never know if we've got other problems, so we won't screw everything back together yet. But chances are that can all go back together, but we never know. Especially these older machines now, they're getting so old. A little dirtier on this side, there's a bit of stuff coming in through the door. So I've already got the idler out, everything could do with a clean. Did I do anything with that felt pad? I think it was loose. So I normally just mark them if I'm going to just glue it back on. So if you just put them right back in the same place, you should have the same back tension. And look at that peeling off, because normally they're fine. It's got a little bit of wear on it, but a little bit of dirt that probably can be wiped off. It's actually glued on in the middle. And of course these glues that I usually use this quick grip stuff, but it's another great Silly's product that likes to glue itself shut. So you have to buy another one every time you use it. But yeah, I usually give that a bit of a rub. Remove any loose sort of cotton there, and you can see where it originally sat. Should always try not to bend this copper if you can. I think it's usually okay just to glue over the old glue. Oh, if I can get the lid off this thing. Oh, it actually came off this time, yay. Yeah, I don't know, this glue is the best anyway. Let's try and get a bit. Just a thin coat. This sort of flexible contact adhesive stuff's the best. You don't want too much of this squeezing out, so we'll just get it to the ends, smooth it out, remove the excess. And, oh, actually we didn't get quite to the end there. The brown glue on this is a bit longer than the actual felt. So the felt starts in a bit from one end of the glue, the old glue that is, and just keep it straight and avoid getting any lumps that aren't stuck on. I think that takes quite a while to set fully, but I'll just wipe that off the back. I'll leave it to one side while I do the rest of this machine, and probably be dry enough to give it a test after. As I was saying, we just got this arm lubed up. That moves nice and free now. And I've just used the end of a cotton bud to smear some grease on these tape guides. So now, using this bottom motor here, we should be able to wind, that's turning the master cam, should be able to wind those guides out a bit and just clean off the last. Not even sure which way you go. I'm going anti-clockwise. Is it doing anything? It'll either hit an end or it'll start moving stuff. Dude. Oh yeah, half load arms doing. Oh, we're actually. Yeah, that's it. Half load arm thing went out. Tape guides are moving. Let's just clean that old grease off. Oh god, yeah, this is hard as hell. Actually, probably need to move on a little bit further even. The new stuff will smear over it, but it's just going sort of anti-clockwise relative to looking down on it. From the top of the side of the mech here. And yeah, we'll just wire out, we'll put some new stuff there. It'll spread it around anyway, but so I think that's the worst of it done down here. Let's go the other way. Oh, I've got to do the capstan. A bit of that green scourer can be used gently, the sort of fine stuff. Dip it in metho, and then you can spin the capstan around. If I can find it, I can turn the reel. We'll turn the capstan. Man, that is caked on. Even with that, it doesn't want to come off. So I can imagine how long it'll take trying to get it off with the cotton bud. Man, some of these patches. That is not coming. Maybe this old scour is a bit worn out. Most of this is above the tape pass, so it probably doesn't really matter that much, but nice if you can get it off. And not that way either. Let's give that a final clean. Stabby circuit board pressing into me. Get all the muck off there. There's a couple of little tiny bits lifted above the tape path, but that is good enough. And I better wind these back because I'll give the heads a clean since I've probably brushed stuff against them. As soon as we load a tape, that'll smear that, start smearing that grease around, so it'll be fine. The mech will just reset itself once you power it up anyway, but so normally I wouldn't bother even winding it back. But I do want to get to these heads and get the guides out of the way to do it. Bit of muck on the drum between the heads. I wouldn't recommend using scourer on this though, because this is aluminium, much softer metal. You've just got to put in the hard work. pretty good, I think. Do the lower part, get the heads out of your way where you can have your rubbing, and rotate them around as you go so you're not risking breaking them. Always stay with the aluminium above. Quite a bit of it came off the end, but that's probably on the drum below where the tape rides. Often gets a bit of stuff on there. Give the heads a final clean. This is a bit corroded on top. You should really wipe your fingerprints off as well. So that's one thing that's had a little bit of, probably where that machine's rusted on top, a little bit of corrosion on the top of the heads. It's just taking the shine off it a bit. And hopefully this glue, yeah, I can't feel any tackiness there, so that should be enough to... I wouldn't recommend running videotapes through it for too long until it's fully dried, that glue, but it's safe to reassemble it like that. And now I've lost the back tension of the screw. There it is. And we'll just line up the edge of the screw with that black mark I made there. And that should be it. We can put our cassette housing back in. Might just lift the door up and brush out any dust, and there's dust on the door. What's the grease like on this? Fine. Oh, we've got to do our final belt. Oh, this is a nice easy one by the look of it. Simply drop it off the front of the motor there. And does it pull out through there? Not quite. That'd be right. Oh, you can get it out. The new one's a bit thinner than that, it might just slide in there. Here it is. Can we just get that? Oh, careful not to get grease on it. Can I just gently... Ideally you don't touch it with a screwdriver, you just yank it, that's it. Probably should have cleaned those pulleys, but they're pretty clean, so there's not really that much point. And we just got to hook it over this side. If you can get it onto the motor shaft there, you can just push it down a bit with your finger and rotate, and it should be on. Now just looking at this, some of that grease is actually gone hard, I think, on there. I may actually have to disassemble this thing. Just lift out of there? How does that come out? Oh, it's this little, is that a clip there? Looks like the sort of thing that's easy to break. Not sure I've ever had to pull these apart. There is a little clip there. That's starting to lift, I think. But it's going to, oh yeah, it's one side's lifted up. Interesting little design. Hopefully they haven't gone brittle. Oh, that one's definitely loose. This one is above the thing. Do I just push on it? Should be loose, I think. Here it comes. Yeah, just very tight. Man, that is tight. Okay, we've got it free. At one end, can I just... That's probably enough just to get that end out. Oh yeah, that's actually gone sticky on that one. I may have to remove the other end as well. Or can I just... That feels pretty free in there. The grease on there is not too bad, but on this actual worm wheel bit, it's gone hard. So we'll just clean that off as best I can. That's really not going to come off either. That's going to need to be dissolved in something, I think. So I think we better get the other end off. That end comes no problem. The other one's a lot harder to get to. How do you get to that? Oh yeah. Oh, that bit there. It's out. Come on, up you come. These are really stuck in. Here it comes just very tight. Oh, well. So that, I don't know what I can put on there. I wonder if acetone eats that stuff off. Either that or degreaser or something is going to have to go on there. Does to a degree. So I guess maybe a bit of carby cleaner or something, or a bit of petrol maybe even to get that off. Well, carburetor cleaner was the most effective one. I got most of it off, but it's far from perfect. I think it might have actually eaten into the brass a bit. It seems to be a bit green coloured. So I'm just going to have to try and scrape off what's left with the screwdriver, I think. Don't know if it's just coincidence it's got a bit green colour. God, it's hard. Got some sort of crust on there. So there's a bit more than just grease on there. So that's the problem with these old machines that haven't been used. You don't know what you're going to find that's gone hard. Or corroded or whatever. I think I'll just try and scrape these grooves out. Nothing much else is going to do it other than scraping it off with a screwdriver, I don't think. Could probably use a scour a bit on it, but I want to make sure I get right down to the bottom. And these little grooves, which we seem to be doing. Wow. I think we've got most of it off now. It's almost all brass, I think. Don't know if I can get the scourer down into those slots a bit. Oh yeah, some black stuff coming off, so we must be getting down there a bit. And it's winding along it, so that's a good sign. Don't think we're getting right down to the bottom, but yeah, that's pretty good now. That's, I won't say perfectly clean, but very close to it. That's pretty good. I think that's as good as it gets. So I'll give that a good coating of grease. I don't want it stuff around anyway. But that's a nice large amount of grease. So yeah, that's perfectly loose. Just get the belt back around there, get that end clipped in. Yeah, definitely very tight in there. And get the other end clipped in. That's it. And I'll put a little bit of grease on the end of that, I think. Probably should have greased the slots where this goes on as well, because very tight. That hasn't quite gone home. Get both ends locked in and make sure they're actually clipped in. I think everything else, all the other grease and the slots and stuff's good on this thing. Someone's quality control there. A little stamp. Okay, the camera battery went flat. I was having a little bit of trouble getting the dummy cassette in there, so I tried a normal tape and I found out why I was having trouble. I actually had to break a piece off the tape while it was in there to get it back out again, because we've got a seized up lever here. So it looks like the cassette housing is going to have to come out again. It's something to do with lifting the flap on the tape. The lever on the side of the unit here, it has to press into the end of the tape. That's working, so the flap's actually loosening off, but then it's hitting this other thing. But even the dummy tape was having some issues. I did get it in a couple of times, and then it decided it really didn't want to go in. And I was just lucky I had some looped over pliers to actually get under there, because there's no real way of getting into the machine with a normal pair of pliers, and just snapped a little bit off that flap so I could release it without actually having to put any pressure on any part of the machine. You probably could have forced it out, but so it's this gold thing here. Oh no, that does move. What the? Okay, something weird's going on. Oh, so it's not seized. It didn't seem to want to work, but maybe it was caught on that other thing. I think the door's meant to come down and push it. Where is the tape? Of course, we've got to push on that bit, but when it comes in, it should sort of. Well, maybe now that this is broken off, it's not going to work anyway. Oh, it's meant to. So yeah, it is meant to push across as the tape comes in. By the look of it. But for some reason it seemed to be catching, as long as that lever is pushed. I'm pretty sure that was pushing in alright. It seemed to be loosening it off. Wouldn't be the first time one of those got bent. It's not sticking on something, is it? Seems alright. Oh well, let's try it again. But something weird going on there. It seemed to work the first few times, and then it started having trouble even with the plastic test tape, which doesn't even have a flap on it. But I assume that was somehow sticking. But it seems that's not the case. Better just get that earth terminal somewhere out of the way. Okay, let's try it again. That was probably just realigning itself. That one didn't fine that time. Play. Line's working. Come on. Vision search is working. Is that meant to be braked? Probably. Puts the brake on that one. seems to be behaving itself. Ah, there it goes. I think the tape's sliding back in the housing maybe. Let's push that in. Yeah, if I push it in, it's fine. It does feel a bit tight. Is it not going? If I make sure it's gone in, it seems alright. This housing does feel tight, especially on that end. I think it just isn't pushing in straight. Yeah, that end is a little... Why is there so much friction there? There's always these little niggling faults with these things. Is it just that I'm not used to this machine and I'm not pushing it in right? That is awful tight though. Yeah, if I make sure that, yeah, see, then it nearly caught. Yeah, this housing's not the best. Why is it tight? You've got a couple of springs pushing down. That's really all the top has to it. There's a switch there that it hits. Well, that really doesn't want to make your tape out, but could it be something? Is there something on the actual edges? One of them is a little, almost like a layer of something a bit sticky on there. It's not impossible that something's built up. Causing issues. I mean, there's definitely scrapes to the paint, but that's pretty normal. The tape's going in and out a lot. A little tiny bit of corrosion maybe, but shouldn't be making life that difficult. Let's just clean the whole thing up a bit. Doesn't feel like there's any excess friction there. Maybe the metho's leaving it, but that already feels better. Oop, we've got no tape function. Got too much back tension maybe. Yeah, I've got too much back tension I think, or tension on the lower drum. Yeah, it's a bit too much back tension. So we need to back that off a bit. Yeah, one thing I probably should have done is actually lubricate these reels potentially. That's fine. Yeah, reels feel loose enough. So let's change the back tension a bit. That's another good thing about marking it, is you can see what you're doing compared to where it was. Getting it to stay where you want is another thing. Yeah, it actually feels surprisingly easier to get in and out. It's still a little tight, but definitely lost some tension there somewhere. At least that's going fine. Still quite a bit of back tension, probably on the upper limits. You can soon find out by pushing on the arm a bit how quickly it stops almost immediately. And reach into the tape. Ooh, that's not too happy. We have an issue with, that's probably clogged up the, come on people, probably got grease on the tape or something. The vision search didn't work properly. Something's making a bit of noise. It's not because of the back tension. You can hear that. That new idler's not working 100%. This thing's still got a few issues. This reel going. Plenty of torque. Yeah, quite a bit of torque. It's a little slippy, that idler, but it's not the idler that's slipping. Something's slipping though. Of course, now it's going to stop mode. Plenty of silly machine. It's going to rewind. Now I'm going to try and jiggle this to try and actually make it do what we want. And I can't really do it. There's a ton of torque there. Really, that's quite tight. It's brake still. Not sure if that brake should be on. Now the brakes are off. Brakes off. Fast forward mode. Still got a bit of back tension, of course. That brake comes back on. That could be why we possibly got a mode switch issue or some other issue there. Ah, there we go again. Not loading. It just let go at the last minute. Yeah, it's definitely catchy. What was happening there? Yeah, it's still dodgy. So it's now caught it on the out. I'm going to have to try and wind it back in, I think, it's the only hope. Is this thing going to move? Yeah, something. That's what happened before, but I didn't think to wind it in was probably the thing to do. No, it's still catching again. Yeah, it's over, so that should be, so that's slipped under. So if you flick that back, if you lift it up and it goes under the lid, then you're in trouble. If you drop it down, yeah, very strange. I get the feeling I've had trouble with these things before at some stage. But so long ago, I can't remember what the trouble was. It's certainly doing some damage to that tape, I think. It's only a very short tape too, so it shouldn't have too much tension. But I don't know if the brake should let go. Sometimes the lower drum can cause tension issues. Let's check how guides actually turn. They're not the freest. That one's maybe a little... Another tape. Went in alright. Went out alright. Don't see that thing. It must go in a bad way to start with, so maybe something's just out there a bit. There's still a fair bit of tension there. Yeah, it stops. It goes a little bit and then stops every time. A few funny noises, but goes and then stops. Something must be getting up in tension or something. Oops, I'm crunching the tape. Yeah, it's got a lot of tension there, I think. Have we got a tension issue with the lower drum? Having a part again. That is a little noisy. Don't think it's the issue, but I am thinking I might as well, something I should have thought of before, is give that a quick lube. Given the condition of this machine, it's probably a good idea. Oops. That doesn't take long. A little bit up and down the shaft. I'll put a little bit on the end of that plastic where it sits on the washer. Well, at least it's noiseless. Possibly even put a little bit on the upper washer where it sits on the plastic. Actually, one thing, I think these normally have a little bit of up-down play in these, so you don't put the circuit fully down. Even though often it will go fully down, but you kind of back it off again because that's tight. Let's just ease that up a little bit. That's probably pretty good. Now I'm going to give that lower drum an extra good clean in case that is a bit corroded. It looks fine, but sometimes they just have a bit of tension on them. The other thing is this doesn't seem to let go in the rewind mode. Now whether that's because it needs some back tension for the vision search, it's quite possible that's all it's doing. Yeah, it doesn't actually feel that good when I think about it. These should be pretty slippery. Sometimes you can feel a bit of friction rubbing a cotton bud on it. Often you'll get a bit of brown stuff come off even though they look perfectly silver coloured. It can be a bit of an issue. Sometimes, you know, we've actually used a bit of brass or something in the past to actually polish these things because they just won't lose their tension. But there is a bit of brown stuff coming off, so maybe this is a lot worse than it looks. That's feeling a bit better. But it was just an issue you got in some machines. And especially if they've been sitting around in damp conditions. But usually it'd be pretty obvious. Yeah, it's a lot smoother on this front bit, it seems. Of course there is less of it, probably reduces the friction a bit. And when you get to this wider piece, it really does feel like it's got a bit of friction there. Yeah, that you can barely feel it. Definitely stuff coming off it. Really need to get it right back to where the tape guide pulls the tape to. Just a small amount coming off. Yeah, that's really nice and smooth. And that, well, when worst comes to worst, keep it off your heads, but a bit of brass just to smooth that bit over a bit. I think that's all it really needs. Obviously wipe all that off again. Yeah, that's a lot better. That's amazing the difference that made. Actually feels a bit more friction down the bit that didn't feel like it had any friction before. That's as smooth as now. Because it's amazing how much friction that adds to the tape. I might even do a bit down the other end. Because what felt good before doesn't feel so good anymore. Not much else I can do, unfortunately. And if you're going to do much VCR repair, it pays to get shares in a company that makes cotton buds, because you get through an awful lot of them. Yeah, that's feeling pretty good now. Much less friction, you can just feel it pulling against the cotton bud. It's so bad. Let's just give it an extra good clean. Get rid of any polish left. Feels like maybe I should have gone a little bit further. There were on hardly any there. I think I'm just going onto the lower drum below it. You can actually hear it's quieter. The cotton bud doesn't make as much noise on there. That's about all we can really do. We'll leave the... Oh, now we've got this thing as well. Could this be I wonder if we can bend that bit down a bit, if this is just going too far forward or something. And this whole bracket is kind of flimsy. Let's give that a little push. Might make it better, might make it worse. Just ever so slightly bend it. All it takes is stuff like that to be just slightly out. And you can have all sorts of problems. But yeah, I get a feeling that might have been a bit of a troublesome mechanism in these things. And the other videos of this era. Oh well, got nothing to lose. We've crunched the edges of the tape up a bit there, that's not too good. I don't know if this machine did it or another one, but probably this one. Let's fast forward the hell out of there. Still quite a bit of tension. There we go. Oh, no we don't. Well, I got further than it did last time. I guess it's something. Maybe it is that brake. I'm going to have to remove that other brake. Absolutely fine in that direction. Well, it's going quite good, and then all of a sudden, at least so far it's loading okay. Trying to another tape which is causing some issues. Probably going to overheat the IC running the motor if I'm not careful, but well, that at least works. Could it be that something here is not? Well, the grease seems fine. Oh shit. Ah, hang on. That I think is stiff. So I've just found that, yeah, that bit's sticking. So I wonder if we've got something else silly like that. And let me think what that did. Yeah, that drives part of the mech plate, I think. So it could be that something like that is not. Yeah, that's slow to move. I wonder if that's not driving across or something and pushing the brake out of the way or something like that. That's all it needs. Is one little thing like that not to work properly. Whoops. Those bits are all good. Yeah, definitely stiff. All the grease on the plates and that seems absolutely fine. Doesn't mean it is, I guess, but yeah, this little one is an issue. Take that clip off. Now, what do we got? We've got a spring that sits onto. Oh, it's hooked around. I assume that comes with it. Oh, maybe it doesn't. Let's. Whoops. I've dropped it underneath it now. It just hooks around the corner of that bit. And it sits. Where does it sit? Is that it? Oh, it's over the other side here. Right on that side of that bit. So that is going to rise with it, I think. If I can get this thing to rise at all, which is, yeah, okay, so unhook it from there. Oh, now it's gone under there, son of a. Of course it did. Let's hook that up onto the thing itself. Oh, it's come off again anyway. Quite Quite the hassle to get off. So yeah, a bit of it under there. Piece of it hangs over just in the little corner there. Oh, and now it fell off. That's what you get for trying to show it. Yeah, like that, and then the other bit springs round onto that other plate. That all feels fine, but it was definitely sticking, or slow to move on its little shaft. Give this a clean. Might clean that spring out a bit as well. Plenty of grease on there. So that's just like that. The little piece. How the hell did it go like that? Yeah, so if that sits in there, we drop this down. Oh, that bit's got to come over behind that lever bit. Turn that around a bit more. That's not really going to work, I don't think. Okay, I think you're going to have to put this on first. So if we fit that on there a bit. What I did last time is I get it hooked over there, get it hooked over this other bit of the same mech, and try and keep it there as you try and reassemble everything. Where's the hole? There. Ah, it dropped off right at the last minute, of course. Bound to happen. How do I get that to the other side? These fiddly things they come up with. Where's it gone? Can I swing that over? Oh yeah, managed to get that over there. Get that under that piece. Bit of a fiddly one. Push it down until we can clip that on. Get on there. That's the slot right there, I think. Is that it? That's it. Now there was another spring on the bit I took off. Sticking out here. Seems a bit odd. Now that went in something like that. That went under there. Oh, that shouldn't be in the way. Oh, the pin drops down into the slide plates. Now this spring, where did that go? Yeah, it looks like it went around that bit. Don't know if that spring was around there or what it was. It probably was. It's about the only place it can go. There's another pin here you've got to kind of drop over this piece. Oh, that's all I can do. Unfortunately, these old machines, you just got to find what doesn't work, one thing after the other. And keep lubing things up until it works. Play.
You saw the house before.
No, there it goes. Didn't make any difference. Nobody shocked by that. Oh yeah, the pinch roller is bad in this, but I don't think it's at the oiling stage. But I did have a very similar fault to this once. One of my regular customers, who I looked after his machine for years, and it was literally the same sort of problem. That was more, I think you record something on it, rewind it, play it back, and it would play up because it had put greasy stuff on the tape. But it could cause a tension issue, something like this, I guess. Oh, I'm going to pinch the old one out of that 850. This one's actually got a crack in it as well, so these I think were common for cracking the plastic. I think the flat bit have to go a certain way. I don't think it really does anything, and the pinch roller's in the way. Anyway, let's just out of interest try that. But that, you could just see a bit of oily stuff left on the tape. Because it takes about the time it takes for that tape to get from the pinch roller to the drum, probably. No way. Let's fix it. Wow, it's the same fault back there. That doesn't look at all oily. Oh no, there it goes. Oh wait up, we rewound into the... I wonder if I rewound into the shit bit of tape again. That would explain that actually. I probably got back to the oily bit. That is the problem. And that's why your test tapes always end up with meters of stuff tape in them. But yeah, don't rewind back into the bit you just had trouble with. If this thing, it was coating it. But it would kind of explain why it goes for a bit. You've got to go up around, and then when it hits the heads, or maybe when it gets right round with a greasy bit or whatever, that was when it would play up. But we'll try it again from a clean bit of tape.
I have to say no.
Dr. Reynolds, for your own sake, I'd like to help you come down.
Alex, please, you probably
What's the picture?
He's a spy for the
If I plug the heads up, probably. It's fine. That's the damn pinch roller, I think. Can't believe I had the same fault. You can see all the corrosion and stuff on the aluminium. Can't see any drips of oil. Usually you can see the almost little droplets of shiny stuff on there, though. Yeah, that top surface does look maybe a tad oily. It's just shiny. It's not putting anything wet on my finger. I don't know, that's a weird one. But that, as you can see, keeps going and going and going now. I think I've clogged the heads up. Well, that'll be a bit of a freaky one if it is that again. A problem I haven't had... God, I wonder what year I had that problem. That would have been early to mid-90s or something. Probably going on near 30 years ago that I last saw that fault. Oh god, there's muck all over them now. I can see streaks leading up to the heads that weren't there before. Man, something's put some muck on there. Oh, dirty as stuff coming off everywhere. Which will also happen if you do have a pinch roller depositing muck on the tape. Wow, they're filthy. Absolutely filthy. Wow. Let's get another cotton bud. Let's clean everything in the tape path again. But yeah, that lower drum is so much nicer now. It's as slippery as... And we won't make any P. Diddy jokes there. But very slippery. Wow, that's just grop coming off it everywhere. That's really clogged it up. Let's put our brake back in. So yeah, maybe that was a fault from 30 years ago that decided to show up again. I don't know if I ever even did vision search on the other machine, whether I just found that testing record and then going back and playing it is how I discovered it. I probably did, you know, vision search isn't something you always test in machines straight away anyway. It's usually one of the tests you give them, but I'm sure the other one you'd record something on it, play it back, and you'd get the same sort of issues. A lot of tension, tape pausing, possibly clogging up the heads like that. So yeah, these old machines getting a few weird problems now. But goes to show these machines also had that problem a long time ago. So it's about the only time you really needed to change a pinch roller. A lot of people did it as a kind of routine thing to charge the customer for a bit extra, but generally it wasn't necessary to replace them, and like I say, unless the bearing collapsed, or in this rare instant where they go greasy. Do not rewind too much more because I've probably gone back. See if we've got a picture back at least. Yeah. Still doesn't look a little dodgy with a little loose bit there, but yeah, we've got good picture on vision search. I say I better not go too far back. It's not weird. I push on that and it's got a little looseness in the tape there. Wow, I think that's really weird, but I think that pinch roller was the cause.
Just for us. Congratulations again.
Pre-recorded tape.
And putsy little smegger. It's good, that book on self-enlightenment, isn't it? The curry supplies.
That works.
There was no debris.
And the Def Leppard. It's bound to cheer this. Well, it gives a pretty good picture, which I guess if it's a low hours machine it should.
Experience, in my view, was invaluable. Equally so, the money. It was Brahms' much-needed contribution to the family budget. Moreover, he was earning his living as a musician.
I've given this thing a bit of a test run, and it all seems to be working fine. It wants a real proper longer test, but seems to be behaving itself perfectly fine now. Gave this back bit a bit of a clean up with some scourer, which is not ideal on paint, but it actually cleaned out the worst of the rusty parts. Still got some marks where the actual paint's damaged, but looks a lot better without any actual rust showing through on the thing. But yeah, she's not too bad a machine, this one. By the look of it, works pretty well. Even with some of the badder tapes I've tried in it, it tracks it reasonably well, probably because the heads are still good in this thing. Hasn't had too much wear. About the only other thing I might do with this is, well, while I've got that 870 here, which I finally got going, seems to finally be running properly in all departments, we can maybe have a look at the two of them side by side, because probably, or at least I won't get the chance to do that again in a hurry. Yeah, I think the other 870 is pretty similar to this machine in function. This one does have still advanced, pause still. I think that one has an adjustable. You can speed it up or slow it down. Once you put it in still advanced, it just keeps going frame by frame sort of thing. And it's obviously a bit of a slimmer machine than this one. Other than that, they're pretty similar machines, I think, in performance levels and the functions they've got. So it'll be interesting just to have a quick look at them and compare the look of them, but I think this one is all running finely, and putting a belt kit in this of course revealed all the other issues it had, which is often the case with these things. When the belts are really gone, you don't have much choice. Maybe once I would have had a spare idler or something, I could have just popped in there and got the thing running to a degree to find out what else was wrong with it. But in this case I really had to buy the kit and put it in, and of course you always find some other niggling bits and pieces that are wrong with these things. In hindsight I probably should have pulled that pinch roller out and checked it and ordered a new one for it, but I think that second-hand one will do for the moment. Not sure if I'm ever really going to use this machine much, but they are quite a nice looking machine with all the extra light up panels and stuff on them. Obviously this one's not doing a lot, but you've got your VU meter, you got your function display, counter, as well as the clock, which the fact the clock is still quite bright in this one, probably up with these other ones, or maybe just a little bit less, means this probably hasn't been plugged in for long time periods. Often the clocks fade away on them, which is quite common with a lot of these older machines. But anyway, that one all seems to be running, so a bit more work to get going than I was expecting, but often the case with these older machines. So thanks for watching.